Am I the arsehole? Real stories, raw judgments. You decide. Please excuse my voice, I'm still nursing this cold, but hoping to be back to my normal self soon. This story is by someone who asked to remain anonymous. All the names, ages and genders have been changed in this story. I've been with my boyfriend Steve for a little over 2 years now. He's the sweetest, most considerate guy I've ever met and we're really happy. Steve is the middle child in a family of 3 kids. Their mum passed away when he was young. Their dad was focused on his career and had little time for them, so they grew up with various nannies and maids. Dad didn't really put any effort into building a relationship with any of his kids, as children or adults. Steve's brother and sister had pretty much zero contact with the dad, but Steve, being the sweet guy he is, always made an effort to keep up. I've met his dad twice, and let's just say he's a difficult man to get on with. But Steve put up with him anyway, sometimes missing out on things he needed to do just because his dad wanted something. Now, his dad passed away recently and left everything to Steve. I think he left some things to the other kids, but 99% of it went to Steve. And turns out, his father was a lot richer than everyone believed. I'm talking about Steve not having to work for the rest of his life and having enough to send 4 kids to college rich. His brother and sister found out and wanted everything divided equally. Steve, being the sweet, considerate guy he is, agreed. We talked about it later and I was like,
"Are you out of your mind? Your dad left this to you, not your siblings."
It's not like his brother and sister are poor or desperate for money. The inheritance was Steve's. I admit Steve can be a bit of a pushover and his siblings know that. So I convinced him to not just divide everything up equally, but maybe consider giving them something more than what their dad has left. When Steve went back to them with the information and said he'd discuss this with me, of course, they're blaming it now on me. They're calling me a gold digger and that I'm after their money. We're not even engaged. I won't get any of this money. It's all Steve's. So, am I the arsehole for convincing Steve not to split up his entire inheritance with his siblings? This story's by No Speed. So, I'm turning 28 on Wednesday and my husband threw me a party on Sunday afternoon. I had about 6 drinks throughout the party, which went from 2 PM until everyone left at 6 PM. I was having a great time, and everyone I was hanging out with seemed fine, but my husband would come up to me throughout the night to check on me and remind me that his parents were there so I should calm down. All I did was dance. I didn't throw up or do anything wild or crazy. I felt pretty normal the whole time too, but I woke up with a headache this morning, and on my period, for fuck's sake. Before bed, my husband told me he thinks I overdid it, and so I've been anxious about it all day. I feel like maybe I did overdo it, and should have been more respectful of the fact that his parents were there. My mum and sister and grandparents were there too, and none of them had any issue with how I was last night, so I don't know what to do. Is 6 drinks too much? Am I the arsehole for drinking at my birthday party? This story's by Nobody Here Look Away. I recently cut off a friend and went off at another for choosing to stay friends with someone. For privacy reasons, let's call him George, who has actively harmed people before. For some context, I'll tell you some of the things that he's done. 1. Taken advantage of a hypersexual person for sexual gratification, knowing they were hypersexual. 2. Sexually harassed several people, including me, repeatedly after being told to stop. 3. Said sexist and racist comments, including a bunch of slurs which he can't reclaim. 4. Defended a guy who mocked my great-grandmother's death in front of my cousin. She had just passed away and we were very close. By the way, my cousin punched him, and it was well deserved in my opinion. 5. Cheated on his girlfriend, who was struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts. 6. Said that he thought I was fat, while the whole group chat knows I've been struggling with disordered eating. 7. After the great-grandmother incident, he alienated my cousin from all of his friends, knowing that he had already been struggling due to other personal reasons. 8. reported my friend self-harm to the school after she pleaded with him not to, due to stuff going on at home and our school not being the best at dealing with this kind of stuff. 9. Told said friend to not post stories with him in it because he didn't want other people to see him hanging out with her. These are just some of the things that he has done, which has made me deem him as an evil person and cut him off. Now, I thought that since my friends knew about all this, they'd do the reasonable thing and also cut him off. Not only did they not do that, but completely accepted and celebrated him after he said he'd changed. I went off at them, since I also felt they were betraying their friends who suffered because of him. Their excuse? They're Christian, and it's their belief to forgive. In my opinion, it's not in their right at all to forgive him, in place of the people he hurt. One of them apologised later and was remorseful, so I decided to stay in contact with him, but the other refused to apologise, saying that I should be able to handle a difference in opinions. So I cut her off. I don't miss my friendship with her because it was very detrimental to my mental health before. The only thing keeping me there was that I didn't want her to hurt herself. But people have been telling me I'm exaggerating and should learn to forgive. I think it's BS, but I decided to seek advice from an unbiased internet. Maybe George will see this and realise it's me, but I don't care. He knows I hate him, and I've said all this to his face anyway. So, am I the arsehole for cutting off my friends for staying friends with an awful person? This story is by Aria Simone. So, I, 32 and female, have kind of reached my breaking point with my in-laws, and now, apparently, I'm the bad guy for it. My wife, 34 and female, and I have been helping her parents out financially for years. We've covered medical bills, helped with their mortgage, and whenever there was some emergency they couldn't handle, we stepped in. We never really thought twice about it because, well, they're family, and my wife felt like it was our responsibility. But then I started noticing a pattern. Every time we gave them money, suddenly they had cash to go out to fancy restaurants, buy expensive designer clothes, or splurge on the stuff they absolutely did not need. At first I tried to brush it off. Maybe they just needed a little joy in their lives or whatever. But it kept happening. And the thing is, it was always right after we helped them. The final straw was last month. My mother-in-law called my wife crying about overdue medical bills and how they were struggling. We sent them a good chunk of money because obviously that's important. A few days later, I see mother-in-law posting on Facebook about their having a much-needed getaway at a luxury resort. I showed it to my wife and she immediately started making excuses for them. Maybe it was a gift, maybe they used a different credit card, maybe we were overthinking it. But the more I looked into it, the clearer it became. There was no overdue medical bills. They just straight up lied to us so they could go on a fancy vacation. That was it for me. I told my wife we're done funding their lifestyle. If they can afford designer clothes, they can afford their own damn house. My wife was hesitant at first. She's always felt responsible for them, but even she had to admit this was messed up. So we told them we're not giving them money anymore, and all hell broke loose. Mother-in-law called us ungrateful and sobbed about how we were abandoning them. Father-in-law said I was manipulating my wife. And then they dragged other relatives into it, who are now guilt-tripping us, saying things like,
"But they're family,"
and "You have the money, why wouldn't you help?" Now my wife is second-guessing everything. I feel like the villain, but I can't keep lighting money on fire for people who refuse to act like responsible adults.
And we're the arsehole.
This story is by No Chocolate. To get things out of the way first, my girlfriend and I, 20 and female and 21 and male, started dating a few years ago, and we talked about what we considered cheating at the time. And one of the things we both considered cheating was porn. She mentioned not liking it, saying it was demeaning and made her insecure. I felt the same. I never liked porn to begin with. Yesterday, when she was screen sharing her phone, and when she clicked on her browser, it opened what she had last opened, and it was porn. I told her we'd talk when I got home, and that she really disappointed me. When I got home, I asked her how long she'd been watching and when she watches it. She tried saying it was just something she wanted to send her friend as a joke, so I called her out. She gave me her phone and told me to check for myself as proof that she did send it as a joke. She had cleared the search index, I'm guessing, but then I went on her Gmail and her search history had months and months of just porn. I think the number was 1,000+ searches of it, and a little less than half of it was before we even knew each other. After showing her I found it all, she called me insecure, saying that I was an arsehole for making her hide it from me, saying that I was being unfair. I told her we'd both agreed on us not watching porn. After that, she accused me of watching porn. I gave her my phone, told her my password to my computer, and told her to search. She of course found nothing, and said I deleted it all. Which I didn't, I just hate porn. After I got her calmed down a bit, I reminded her that we both said when we got together that porn is cheating. And she said she remembers and admitted that she had an addiction and she was extremely sorry. I told her I needed some space and that I'd text her in the morning. As much as I know porn addiction is real and can be a serious thing, I feel like this isn't something I can forgive easy. She lied to me for years about it and tried to hide it all when she was caught. This story is by Boskalak. I, 38 and female, have two younger brothers, who's 36 and 19. My middle brother and I had a fucked up childhood. I had it harder because my father wanted a male firstborn. He was always treating me really crappy, saying things like,
"You are dumb, ugly, fat and useless. Don't tell anyone that you're my daughter."
The mistreatment wasn't as bad for my middle brother because he always had everything he wanted, and for me, it was the opposite. I tried so hard to make my parents proud, but it seemed never enough for them. My mother did not care about how my dad treated me or us. She just kept quiet. Just so you know, my dad has never, ever worked a day in his entire life, as my grandparents left him with a very big inheritance that he spent on himself, fancy cars, expensive holidays, just for him and my mum. He used to play the victim, saying things like,
"No one loves me in this house, just the dog."
I thought to myself, no wonder why nobody loves you. You're a jerk. At the age of 17, he kicked me out and I did not know where to go. I had to grow up fast so I could sustain myself. I moved to another part of the country and lived there for 7 years without parental contact. I got a job, friends and life experience. The best years of my life. So in 2009, my parents and I started contact again. And I eventually moved back to their place. Everything was, in a way, okay, not that bad. Then, a few years ago, I met my now Austrian husband and moved back to his country. We got married in COVID times, just before lockdown. Nobody came, but we did FaceTime it. Then I got pregnant, but sadly we lost the baby. My mum FaceTimed me, asking me how I was feeling and if I was still bleeding after the miscarriage. Then my dad, out of nowhere, started a tantrum, saying that it was disgusting to hear about me bleeding. My mum didn't say anything, she just laughed. Not knowing what to do, I just ended the FaceTime call and didn't talk to them for a few years. How could my mum laugh about the most tragic moment in my life? Eventually, and I still don't know why, I gave my mum another chance. Although I have not had contact with my father since. I went to visit my mum and brothers a few months ago, in separate meetings. My middle brother said that my dad had not paid taxes on the family house for years, and is now forcing my 19-year-old brother to get 2 jobs and pay the taxes so they don't get evicted. After that, I confronted my mum, saying that how dare my father put that burden onto my little brother, and that he should take his finger out of his ass and finally look for a job. Of course, that won't happen. I also said to her that she must wake up and act like a caring mother and forget my dad. But she won't. She would rather just stand there behind my dad and protect him before protecting her own kids. She's now trying to call and text my husband, saying that she misses me and wants to have contact again. But I don't want to go down that path again because I know some other shit will come along. So, am I the arsehole? Thanks for hearing me out.
The Am I the Arsehole podcast is not affiliated with Reddit or any other online message boards. All the stories featured are narrated and produced with the author's permission. Please email me your stories to amithearseholepodcast@gmail.com if you'd like to hear your stories read in future programmes. And that's spelled AITAH podcast@gmail.com. You can also check in the show notes for the email. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time. Take care.